State and local law enforcement agencies team up to pursue these ruthless fugitives. But despite their massive effort, the trail grows cold. Will officers be able to catch the Texas-7 before they kill again? They are the first line of defense. Men and women sworn to uphold the law. Our security depends on them. They are the enforcers. After more than 40 days on the run, police have finally tracked down the Texas-7 to a trailer park in Colorado.
We felt once they were apprehended that it would be a bloodbath.
Residents are whisked away as SWAT surrounds the heavily armed fugitives.
With the weapons they have, which are pretty much equal to what we have, it was a very bad situation.
The Texas-7 swore they would never be taken alive.
This is the FBI. Come out with your hands over your head.
This incredible story began on December 13th, 2000, in Kennedy, Texas, at the John Connolly Unit, a high-security state prison. Here, nearly 3,000 convicts serve out tough sentences behind its harsh walls.
Prison's not a nice place to be. Those people are not in there for singing in the choir. The judges sent them to prison for a reason.
The sprawling Conley prison complex includes over 24 buildings. Not far from the South Gate Tower is the maintenance building. This is the workplace of choice for the most trusted inmates, those who have earned minimum security status.
Maintenance is a good job because they have the freedom and the ability to move about the prison unit.
So no one thought twice that morning when inmate George Rivas and 5 other prisoners approached maintenance supervisor Patrick Muchigimba and offered to wax and seal a floor while everyone else went to lunch.
Yeah, go ahead.
George Rivas was very intelligent, cooperative, never gave 1 ounce of trouble, ever, and went out of his way to do a good job.
But Rivas and the others had no intention of waxing any floors. They had a much more ambitious plan: to break out of the prison they despised.
Most of them were long-term lifers that had nothing to lose, so they were very desperate people, and were willing to do whatever it took to get out.
30-year-old gang leader George Rivas was a career criminal, serving 18 life terms for aggravated robbery and kidnapping. He and the other inmates had spent an entire year carefully planning for this day.
All right, I'll see you when you get back. All right.
At 11:20, Mark Burgess left for lunch with the other maintenance employees and prisoners. Only Supervisor Muchigimba stayed back to oversee Rivas and the other 5 inmates. That was the cue for inmate Michael Rodriguez, who worked on the yard crew, to climb through a window and join the others inside. The 38-year-old Rodriguez was serving a life sentence for murder. He had hired a hitman to kill his wife because she had gained weight.
The reason he was brought in was because his family had money and he would be able to supply the getaway car.
With Rodriguez now hidden inside, Rivas signaled inmate Larry Harper.
Mr. Muchigimba, can you come take a look at this motor? I'm having a problem with it.
Yeah, I'll be right there.
Harper, Rivas's number 2 man, was serving a 50-year sentence for raping 3 women.
He was smart. He was an ex-college student, ex-military officer. I'm sure he had the initiative that Rivas was looking for.
Supervisor Muchigimba followed Harper and Rivas into the next room. He was knocked unconscious by a savage blow to the head from Patrick Murphy. The 39-year-old Murphy was a seasoned con who was serving 50 years for robbery and rape. 35 minutes later, Supervisor Mark Burgess returned to the shop.
Mr. Muchigimba needs to see you. All right.
Rivas and 23-year-old Randy Halpern lured Burgess to the back.
Check this out.
So I just kind of glanced down, and 2 things hit me at once. The first thought was something's wrong, and the second thing that hit me was an axe handle in the back of my head. And they knocked me out.
When Burgess came to, he was surrounded by armed inmates. George Rivas towered above him.
He says, "This is serious. We're going home." And he goes, "You can go home too, or not. It's your choice."
Burgess complied, but Donald Newberry was out for blood.
He was waiting for that signal from Rivas. Do I kill him? Do we tie him up? You can tell right there that either way made no difference to him.
38-year-old Newberry was serving a life sentence for armed robbery.
Newberry's proud of the fact that he's a career criminal and talked openly about doing 85 armed robberies in his career.
Once Burgess was securely bound and gagged, Halpern put a knife to his throat.
I was told by Halpern that you may have thought I always liked you, but I can't stand your ass, and I'd just as soon kill you now.
Randy Halpern was sentenced to 30 years for savagely beating a friend's baby when it wouldn't stop crying. Halpern and the other inmates dumped Burgess into the electrical closet, where to his surprise, Supervisor Muchigimba and 9 other employees had also been systematically ambushed.
There was blood all over the floor. And when I saw the bodies, I thought they were dead. I thought, well, this is it. This is the end of the line for me. That's where I die.
Joseph Garcia then threatened to kill Burgess if he tried to escape. The 29-year-old Garcia was serving a 50-year sentence for stabbing a friend to death in a drunken rage. Finally, Garcia left the room and locked the door behind him. The first phase of the convict's plan was an unqualified success.
Everyone's accounted for and secured.
Excellent.
But the second phase of this daring operation was far more risky. They had to eliminate the last 2 men standing between them and freedom. Vernon Jansen in the Southgate house and Lou Gibbs at the Southgate Tower. At 1:15 p.m., Rivas called Officer Gibbs and told him that the maintenance crew would be coming by the tower to install video surveillance equipment.
At the time, the prison was in the process of installing cameras on the outside guard towers. Well, it was a very good ploy because the tower officer knew that he was going to be getting a camera.
Rivas then called Officer Vernon Jansen at the Southgate house and delivered the same message. Now dressed in their supervisor's clothes, Rivas and Halpern escorted Garcia and Murphy in a maintenance cart to the South Tower gatehouse. They parked the cart in front of the building and went into action.
They jumped the officer, tied him up, and put him in a bathroom.
With Officer Jansen out of the way, they headed for the Southgate Tower and Officer Gibbs. Their year of planning would depend on this moment.
Rivas, in civilian clothes, signaled for the guard to open the outside gate.
The 4 men quickly drove the short distance to the base of the guard tower. They entered the building and climbed up to the lookout post. Rivas then spotted Officer Gibbs' pistol.
Slow. Turn around. We're trying to find his back.
While Halpern tied up the officer, Garcia and Murphy collected more than a dozen weapons and hundreds of rounds of ammunition. Rivas then called the maintenance shop and told Harper it was time to get out of prison. The 3 men jumped into a Department of Criminal Justice truck they had filled with plywood and drove off.
They got to the back gate, loaded the weapons up. The other inmates crawled in underneath the plywood, and they were gone.
It was 1:50 p.m. Rivas and his men had pulled off their daring escape in just over 2 hours without a single hitch. Minutes later, Officer Lou Gibbs freed himself from his bonds and reported the escape to the warden.
The first thing it has done is to lock down the unit, notify